Hello, everyone, and welcome to Blind Spots. I'm Gail McDonald, and it is December 9th, and I am just wondering how all of your holiday plans are going. Are you the type that's organized and ready to go? Everything is in its place, or are you the type that really enjoys leaving it till the last minute and being in a frenzy? So, our show today is a little bit about that because we sometimes just accept the way we are. It's just the way I am. And this information I'm getting from a book by Steve Chandler, which I read so many years ago, and it is truly one of my favorites. So I just wanted to give a shout out to Steve Chandler because this is one of a few of his books that are really, really impactful. And I love the cover as well. It's for those of you that aren't on video here, it's split into the left side is a black band, and in it is printed 17 lies that are holding you back, and then it stops there, and that's printed in white. And then the other side of it is a beautiful sky with great big clouds, and it's a beautiful shade of blue. And in that, the print is black, and it says, "Truth that will set you free." And it's very eye-catching, and I was really drawn to the cover. However, I bought the book not just because of the cover, but because of what I had read about it. And a lot of it has stayed with me all these years. And there are some things that we tell ourselves for whatever reasons, justifying our actions, reasons for doing things, ways to behave badly, ways to behave well, and it just the list goes on and on. So the two that I've chosen today, in my opinion, have somewhat of a connection. And the first one that I'd like to discuss with you today or share with you is it's just the way I am. So, are you the holiday shopper that's frenzied, or are you all organized and ready to go at any time? And if you are the one that's frenzied and you enjoy being frenzied and stressed and enjoy leaving things till the last minute because it's fun, that's okay. It's just the way you are. And on the flip side, if you are the frenzied one and you want to make some changes, if you are to say, well, that's just the way I am, what I get from that statement that I have also thought years ago, it now looking back and reflecting, it just makes me think that is that really an excuse to procrastinate, to think of doing things differently so I can get better results? And there's many things that I have told myself it's just the way I am about over decades and decades. However, I have found in my journey of development, personal development, that even though it's hard work sometimes, that the change is worth it. The doing things differently is worth it, and not saying it's just the way I am to things that I really would like to do differently. So before we dive in, I kind of thought about this and I thought, well, gee, is it too much information? Is it going to take too long? And then I did decide to share the lies with you. So this is a book that you really, really have to either buy and read or listen to, um, because the lies are the first part of the book. And then the second part is finding your deepest power. And it's in there. And I have found that over time as well. Um, External gratification or external praise, happiness, it doesn't last if it comes from outside of us. It's when you can have that truth about yourself and you can create that for yourself and it's sustainable. It's just it lasts longer than getting the dopamine hit and having that wear off. That's short-lived, right? So I won't say a lot about any one of them at this point, but I am going to say a little bit more about the two that I've chosen. The first one is that's just how I am. And the second one is I'm too old for that. And I have heard that during my career from people who are younger than 40 when they have thought about going to university for the first time or taking some type of training or going back to university. I'm too old for that. And I recall years ago someone sharing with me that they had a neighbor who had just graduated from university and she was in her 80s. And this is pretty close to 2 decades ago. And she graduated from university and then she got a job teaching kindergarten. So so are we too old for many things? Um, Likely not. But there are some amazing people in history that I'll also share with you that it's so encouraging to know that they just didn't get out of university or maybe just graduate from high school and then start something at 18 and then they became a success. And it's not necessarily about the length of time, it's the passion, the spirit, and your attitude about what you can accomplish. So I thought that those two were somehow connected because if we think that we're too old for something, then it's just the way we are. That's our scope of thinking. So the first lie is it's who you know. How often do we hear that one? The second one, lie number two, there's something wrong with me. Oh goodness. I have I have really said that to myself years ago, years and years ago. I'm too old for that. We'll be discussing that one. I can't because I'm afraid. And my question is, afraid of what exactly? Um, if I don't know what I'm afraid of, how can I even be afraid? I'd love to do that, but I don't have the time. That's lie number five. Lie six, there's nothing I can do. Well, we can talk about that another time because there's always something we can do. And lie eight, I'm sadder now, but oh, I'm so much wiser. Whoa. Yeah, lie number nine. The longer I have a habit, the harder it is to break. And I have heard people say that just in conversation so many times over the years. People really upset me. Okay. Lie 11. Winning the lottery would solve everything. Okay. Well, good on you. It's very random, and there's a lot of people that win the lottery, but we don't really hear how their lives have turned out. And some of them, I'm thinking it can be very, very good. But if something is given to you in large amounts right away, have you had the opportunity to transition to getting used to it? That's what I've experienced. I mean, we're born and then we begin aging as soon as we're born. And if we were to go from what we knew at 10 years old right into 25 or 30, what would we even what would we even know? How could we decide what to do with our lives? So it's just the experience, it's the journey, it's the getting there, right? And line number 12 is they're too beautiful for this world. Line number 13, you hurt my self-esteem. Well, what I've learned about self-esteem is it's not something that's easily hurt. And again, that's something internal. You can't really hang on to, believe in, and hold strong to your self-esteem if you're getting it from external experiences or circumstances or things like that. I mean, it can help, but self-esteem, in my opinion, and I'd love to hear if anyone has a different opinion, um, it is something about the belief that we have in ourselves. And can that sometimes waver? It could, but really, if we have a short think about it, we do realize that, yeah, I'm okay with that. Maybe I don't know everything, and I'm okay with that too. So you hurt my self-esteem. Mm, I don't even know what to say about that. Like it's an interesting one. It's a shame we didn't capture that on video. That's a good chapter. And Live 15, that's just the way I am. Talk a little bit about that one today. What doesn't kill me makes me stronger. And Lie 17, I am helpless. How can we go through life not accepting responsibility for what we do or we don't do, or relying on someone to tell us? It's just, it's just not, it's not a fun way to live. Um, and there are ways to move out of it, move away from it. And also, too, there's a lot of reasons that we become this way and develop these thoughts. And it's an unconscious programming sometimes. Oftentimes it's through childhood. If I think way back to my childhood, I think of some of the things and things that I did, habits that I had that I continued to do um, as as I aged. And I look back and I go, wow, how did that even serve me? And sometimes if we have good habits, too much of a good habit can be a not great thing. And I just thought about this before I started recording here. When I was a really small child, like probably 5 or 6, I was fortunate enough to have just one brother. So we each had our own bedroom, didn't have like a lot of kids. My parents didn't have a lot of kids, just the two of us. And I had this really cool little girly bedroom. And I had some really nice things to wear because my aunt and uncle were both in the tailoring business. And I recall hanging my clothes up um, in the order of length. So the shortest things, like I hung up everything. I hung up my little sweaters. They would be at the start of my closet and it went left to right. And then as things got longer, I would hang them like then my skirts and then my pants and then my dresses and my shoes were basically color coded too. If I had two pair of black shoes, they would be together. And that's really odd for a child. I often wonder what my parents thought of that. But that was just the way I was when I was that age. And I did maintain that order in my closet. Teenage years were a bit bumpy because, of course, as teenagers, all we want to do is get out the door and party. But then when I started, you know, getting a little bit older and getting a job and living on my own, then I went back to the even Steven with my clothes and the proper height. And I I realized that I sometimes wasted too much time organizing and reorganizing my closet. And I really don't know what that was about. Well, I think I do. For me, I think it was in my DNA. My dad was very tidy. His dad was very tidy. So I don't know, maybe it is in our genes. But if you think of some of the things that you're doing now and you would claim that it's just the way you are they serving you? Some things are. To say, well, this is just the way I am, to do this, to be organized, and well, that's a good thing. But can we go overboard? And that's part and parcel of what emotional intelligence shows us. It's like you may have a strength, you may score really high in managing multiple emotions, but can you go overboard? And then at that point, what happens? Like, are you being too intense? Okay, so it's just something to be aware of and know that when I'm speaking to you about it's just the way I am, what I'm focusing on more is just being very conscientious of the things that perhaps you feel aren't working well for you. Be it relationships or be it saving money. That's just the way I am. I can't, people might say, well, I'm not a good saver. It's just the way I am. Okay, well, what is that going to look like in 25 years? So it's taking a look at your, sometimes even your unconscious habits, and not just saying it's just the way I am and giving yourself permission to keep doing it. But how could you change your narrative? So I've chosen to read just a tiny bit of some of Steve's book, just a couple of sentences in each one of these lies. And my intention here today is just provoke some thought for you, just to have you reflect on, what level of satisfaction you have with some of the things that you're doing, or maybe you've been telling yourself for a long time, this is one habit I would really like to change. And how can I do that? And there's so many great books written on that. James Clear has written Atomic Habits, and there's some really good stuff in there. So if you want to change that narrative of it's it's just the way I am, what could you tell yourself? Could you tell yourself, yes, this is the way I am now in certain circumstances, but this is how I would like it to be, and that, and then set some intention, even starting with something very, very small, and practice it. And it will, I shouldn't say it can, it's highly likely, if not 100% likely, that by doing these things over time, you will get better and they will become natural. Okay. So here's how Steve starts this particular line number 15. That's just the way I am. I claim all kinds of permanent characteristics. They get me out of things. They let me off the hook. They are lies, but I have taught myself to believe them. I say that's just the way I am. I am asked whether I have introduced myself to the new person at work, and I say no, I am shy, but that's just the way I am. I am asked whether I remembered my aunt's birthday, and I say no, I am very forgetful and disorganized, and that's just the way I am. My child asks whether I remembered a promise made and broken, and I say no, but yes, now that you bring it up. Oh, I am so sorry. I'm so hassled and I'm so busy. You know how stressed I get. I get stressed out, and that is just the way I am. That one can really haunt you later on. Think of how a child would feel if a parent forgot their birthday. And this is one of my favorites with regards to the work that I'm now doing. And it's interesting that I hear so many people say they would love to speak up, but for some reason they can't. Why didn't I speak up in our team meeting at work? Why didn't I object to that new system that I know will not work? Well, you know me. I don't like confrontation. I say live and let live. Give them enough rope and maybe they will hang themselves. I don't have to get into it with them. I always keep a low profile. That's me. That's just the way I am. And Steve refers to this as self-deceit. It's a lie. It's the lies we're telling ourselves that it's just the way I am. It's unbearable to look at a child when their feelings have been hurt. It's like, how do I fix this? It's like, well, you pretty much can't. And I heard something about birthdays a very long time ago, and it was someone that had said, I would rather receive one rose on time for my birthday than $1,000 2 weeks late. And it's just interesting how when we raise the stakes, when we've made a mistake, we feel like it's okay. And maybe people won't let us know. So do know that you have the power, you have the control to break through the lie of it's just the way I am. And I thought I might also share a couple of A couple of my own circumstances over the years, things that I've remembered. And now that I'm aware of this material, which is why being a bookworm is a really good thing, it's really helped me to read a variety of different books from a variety of different authors to really reflect and think about whether I believe the information. Does it work for me? If I want to do it, then how can I implement it? But many years ago, I had insecurities, a variety of different insecurities. And I remember buying a really expensive purse. And I couldn't afford the purse, and I knew that, but I bought it anyway. And it just it just felt so good when I bought it. And I pictured myself walking around with it, walking into work with this purse. And funny enough, nobody treated me any different because because I had this really expensive purse. I think at one point I even turned it around and made sure that the that the brand was showing. That was bad. That was bad. However, even though I was short money or I couldn't pay my credit card completely and get rid of the purchase of the purse, I really don't even remember now, but I know the outcome wasn't great. It was a bit painful for a while. I just think back and realize that I could have been thinking, oh, it's just the way I am. This is what I need to feel worthy. It's what I need to feel important, respected, and a multitude of other things. But the purse wore off. The dopamine from buying the purse and from using the purse wore off. And it didn't take long. It was a very short period of time. And that's just one example. And that lasted for a while because I would get that hit from buying something. And it took me a long time to get over that. And I would just spend money that I didn't have. And I am so grateful that it's been years since I've done that. And now it's almost the reverse. It's like, oh, do I need it? Or no, I don't need it. And I find too, as I'm getting older, excuse me, I'd rather say that I'm aging. I'm not fussy about that word old. Um, that I'm getting rid of more things. And I just don't want to buy things that I don't really need. It's like, is this just more clutter? Is this just more stuff? So it's funny. It's almost like I did a complete 180 on that. And there was one other situation. Well, there's multiple, but the one I remember is a couple of times walking into work, and there was a bit of a mood. There's a bit of a heavy feeling, and immediately my thought was, "What have I done wrong? What have I done to cause this?" Well, it also took a while to become aware of that and just think about the fact that I didn't do anything. Some people are just in a bad mood because they're in a bad mood. And I'm not responsible for other people's bad moods. But at that point, I was telling myself, well, it's just the way I am. And I really didn't think I had a choice many, many years ago. I didn't think or realize that I had that much control over my own thinking that gave me agency of choice that I could learn to have different thoughts that would really change the way I looked at things and that I could become more self-assured and that I had strong self-esteem. Um, I just didn't think it was possible because years and years ago, I didn't really read as many books as I have in the last probably over a decade. And now with Audible, it's just made it way easier. And no, I don't get paid to plug Audible. I just really, really love it. Okay, so lastly, there's a couple of things about the just being the way we are that I'd like to leave you with to have a think about. And then in another session, we could get into the second part of the book as to how to really get a handle on this, right? And so, a few more things that Steve has written here that I'd like to share that I thought might be helpful is selling myself on the way I am keeps me locked in my own fearful childhood. And as children, we rarely feel we have any control over anything because we're told what to do and sometimes told what to wear and told what to eat. And years ago, like when I was, my generation, children should be seen and not heard. So we didn't even really think we had a choice in anything, right? Um, and the next thing that I'm going to read about, that's just the way I am. Steve also says to throw aside the heavy lies that we are struggling to carry around with us um, is to become free, which is everything. It's growing up. It's growing lighter, higher, and freer. And just as I say lighter, higher, and freer, I feel myself feeling lifted up. There's just an energy in those words. And he also states that Immanuel Kant said that enlightenment is a person's emergence from self-imposed immaturity. Self-imposed immaturity is when we deliberately lie to ourselves and become frightened children in the face of adult challenges, instead of becoming brave people who are simply challenged by the tasks ahead. So you just are challenged by the task. You're not allowing it to define you. Um, we can still feel fear and move ahead. Dr. Jeffers wrote that in her book, Feel the Fear and Do It Anyway. And it's normal to feel fear. But there's work to be done when we're adults. There's absolute work to be done. And the last thing, and this was based on how a poker game works. I really kind of appreciate this. I'm not a poker player, but I know the basics and it really made sense to me. He says it's always what you do with the cards you have that determines the outcome, not the cards themselves. So have a think on that one. To me, what I got from that is that things can happen to me in life, and it's how I'm going to choose to think about it, which is going to guide me in what I do about it, and then how I'm going to do it. And even if I'm uncertain about some of the things that need to be done, I'll do something and see where it leads. And I'll redirect along the way if I have to. I'll just get myself back on course. So that was the first lie, and that's lie number 17. Now, this whole getting old thing, I'm not fussy, like I said, about that word. Um, and this is just my take on it, is that when things get old, they need to be, if they can be fixed, but I mean, there is no going back, right? I mean, but if there's something you can improve upon, then by all means. But sometimes things get old and you just can't use them anymore. It's like having an old vehicle and you fix it, fix it, fix it, and then there's one day that it's just not going to start and there's too much that's gone wrong with it and it doesn't even make sense to pay to get it fixed. So the word old to me means that it just needs to be gone, disposed of. And I think about that and I'm like, yeah, I'm getting older, but I don't want to be disposed of. So I like to think of the getting old as aging. So to me, aging is something that happens to all of us. But the getting old part happens between our ears. And I refuse, even though I can, to park in the seniors parking. I don't care if it's next to the door because I want to get as much activity in my day as I can. If I'm in a hurry, maybe I'll park closer. I still won't park in seniors because I am extremely lucky to have the health that I do. And if there is a senior perhaps who requires parking in that space, then I should be leaving it for them. I don't need to park there. I'm as capable as any younger person in their 30s or whatever of walking across a parking lot. And actually, just a couple of weeks ago, I had an appointment and it was at a very large hospital. And of course, there's never enough parking. So I parked somewhere where I thought I would remember where I parked my car, but it was like a two-tiered top level. So I thought, well, if I park where I can see the sky, then I'm good. I know I'm on the right level. Uh, so it was the sixth level, and I happily go in the door after my appointment of the parkade and I walk up the six flights of stairs. And I was feeling quite proud of myself because I did have a broken ankle to about 2 years ago now. And it was great to be able to do that, let me tell you, after recovering from that. And I got up to the parking level and I couldn't find my vehicle. So I look way beyond, and there's yet another level and I could still see the sky from both levels. So I'm like, well, I guess I have to go down this set of stairs, walk underneath across to the other side of the parking lot where the other stairs are. I did it. I went up and then down and then crossed the parking lot and then went up another six levels. And luckily there was my vehicle. And if that wasn't enough, then as I was circling around to go down the levels, I drove right past the elevator. And I thought, well, maybe I just needed the steps, right? So it really is your own perspective. And one of the easiest ways, as Steve writes, for me to avoid doing something is to say that I'm too old to do it. There are some things I don't do only because I don't want to. It's not because of my age. And I'm okay with that. But people have often said to me, well, your husband's retired. When are you going to retire? And I retire every night and I get up in the morning and I work just like I did the day before. When you love what you do, when you have a passion for what you do, to me, retirement really isn't on the horizon. And I am also in love with learning different things. I'm really in love with learning how I can be better at what I am doing. Maybe learning how to do it differently, taking courses, learning how can I can be a better human. I mean, there's always something to learn. And some of this stuff is really interesting. And I'm excited because the city that I live in, and likely it's the same in many other cities in North America and maybe even around the world, that when you hit 65, you can actually you can sign up for university courses. So I'm pretty excited about that. Uh, I haven't decided what I'm going to take yet, but I'll have a think on that because that's just the way I am and I can. So that is line number three is I'm too old for that. And Steve carries on to say, I do, I don't want it to occur to me that I wasn't excuse me, to, I don't want it to occur to me that it wasn't too long ago that I was telling myself that I was too young to do things, that I really didn't know how to do those things, and I didn't have enough experience or confidence. Well, holy smokes, like if you're too young to do something and then you live your life and then you're too old, like exactly when is the right time? It's it's procrastination. It's excuse-itis. It's, you know, let's tell the truth and say, I don't want to do it. I choose not to do it. And that's okay. But to get in your own way and say you're too old for that, um, I think it's kind of sad, like just Really, I would love to have some of you write in or email me or if that's Gail at blindspotscoaching.ca or through the website blindspotscoaching.ca. Uh, yeah. So just go there. And I mean, these things aren't just relevant to people that are classified officially by the government as seniors. In my career teaching days, I heard people say, I'm too old at 30. And I'm thinking I might have mentioned this earlier, but really, like, how are you too old? Like, what does that even mean? You're too old. It shouldn't even be a thing, right? Um, and another thing Steve says is about being too old is it's almost always just a feeling covered by an invented fact. Should we honor and respect that feeling? Is feeling old a useful feeling? That was the question that really hit me between the eyes when I read that. And to me, if I think of myself as being too old, it feels really yucky. It's never something that even crosses my mind. And interestingly enough, too, this was quite some time ago, and I guess to somebody that was 17, I did look much older. And I was coming out of Costco with a case of 4 jugs of 4 liters of windshield washer fluid, and I quite happily had it carrying it on my shoulder. And this young fellow in Costco, he worked there. He rushed over to me and he asked me if I needed help, and I just thought that was so sweet. But his perspective, but I thanked him and went on my merry way, right? And not being very tall, it kind of, I don't know, it makes people think that you're weak or maybe you need help all the time. I keep a stool in my kitchen, a little foldable stool, so I can get to the top shelf because I can't ask my husband every time I want something on the top shelf, right? Okay, so there's a couple of other things here that I thought would be important. And this one is they say, right, whoever they are, that's like, I think all of us, that circumstances have prevented them from being who they really could be. Placing blame, it happens out there. It's not me, it's what happened to me, right? That was said by me, not out of the book, but back to the book. But was it circumstances or was it an exaggeration? Here's this great play on words of the power of the circumstances. So, not really the circumstances, but the power that you gave those certain circumstances. And seriously, you have to get this book to fill in these blanks, but these are just some tidbits. So, Steve also says that the current form of public education in most places is now it's kindergarten to high school and then to college. And I had no idea that it was designed in the Elizabethan age when humans had an average life expectancy of 35 years. Who knew? I'm sure glad it's gone up because I'd be long dead if that was the case, right? But for a person living 35 years, it was a sensible learning system that kept the mind alive and fresh for life because you only had a few decades after that. But today we have continued to use this model, that education structure, despite having an average lifespan increase to 75 years. That's really crazy. So, what do we do in between? Well, we get an education or not. You can graduate high school and go on and do something else. And then we do that thing for a while, or some people do it for life. I have clients that have worked for 30 years in their particular field, and clients that have changed jobs every couple of years. Um, but if you're doing kind of that same thing, like over and over again, um, if you're not taking any courses or learning something new about it, I mean, let's face it, everything is changing in the world right now very, very quickly, right? So, what are you doing to actually keep your mind alive, keep it firing, keep it active, right? Um, and he also says it's not your age that determines what you can learn, it's your energy. And take advantage of it. I take advantage of every opportunity that I can to listen to books if I'm not able to sit and actually read. So if I'm doing something around the house, if I'm walking the dog, if I'm folding laundry, I'm plugged. I'm plugged in. I'm plugged in to the point that I have to give myself a break over the holidays, or oh goodness, who knows? I'll probably pick up another book. Um, so it is your energy, the energy you have, right? And your energy does not depend on your age. It depends on your sense of purpose. So what is your purpose? What do you do in a day that makes you feel like you are contributing, you're doing something of value, and it can be something of value for yourself, walking around the block. I I adopted this new belief about my life purpose, because I could never figure it out. And I thought I was maybe I thought it was unusual. Like it's like, well, I should know what my life purpose is. And we were talking about this in a coaches meeting, and a couple of us said our purpose is just to work at being the best version of ourselves each day. That's it. Because the tiny changes make the biggest differences. And there's a great example of that when it comes to saving money. If you start young, and we've all heard this most likely in banking commercials, and save a smaller amount over time, in decades, you'll have way more money than if you took like um, you put away $1 million and then just got interest on it for 5 years. So it's just the little things over time. And a message I would like to really drive home um, is that know that when you begin to self reflect and when you begin to possibly look at things differently, that that is a skill. It's a learned behavior. You can get great at it. But as with any other skill, it's going to take time and you don't see the results right away. So, so keep going, keep at it. Remind yourself however you need to. Okay. So I'd like to leave with a couple of um, inspiring notes that I actually found on LinkedIn about people who started things later on in their years, and it was posted by Thank You to Hannah Larson. Um, and it's about some pretty famous people. Most of them I've heard of, some I haven't. However, this was really interesting to me, and I hope it maybe rings a bit of a bell with you. So Snoop Dogg is 54 years old, and maybe I don't know how, when this was written, and known for a wide range of business ventures in addition to his successful music career. Martha Stewart started her media company at 56. That's wild. Uh, Tony Ryan founded Ryanair. I'm thinking that's an airline at the age of 48. Charles Flint started IBM when he was 61. Wow. Reid Hoffman founded LinkedIn at 36. Vera Wang founded her own bridal fashion company at 40. I think it might be sometimes some of the wisdom that we've gained and maybe even some of the failures. We keep at it, and I would guarantee these people had passion. Sam Walton founded Walmart at the age of 44. And one story I've heard about Sam Walton, I thought was pretty darn cute, is he would go around and visit the stores and he had this beater of a car. Um, and I don't know if this is even true, but it is kind of cute. And you can see it happening. It's not that unusual, but he would take his dog with him, leave him in the car when he went into the stores, and the dog had chewed up the steering wheel, and Sam pretty much didn't care, right? So to me, it also gives the idea that as we age, not get old or older, as we age, different things become important to us and other things become less important, like Sam's steering wheel, right? Um, so Doris Fisher co-founded Gap at 36. Uh, Mark Benioff, I think, founded Salesforce at 35. Um, Zoom was founded by Eric Yuan at 41. And Laura Ingalls Wilder, known for Little House, started writing in her 60s. It is never too late, folks, never at all, to start a business and build something of your own, or even to change careers, whatever it is you want to do. In fact, this is from the article. In fact, the older you get, the more likely your chances of success are. A 50-year-old founder is twice as likely to build a thriving company as a 30-year-old founder. Hmm. And her post says, read that again. And it's never too late to bet on yourself. Well, that was a lot of words. So, thank you for hanging in there till the very end of the podcast. I hope that there is something that I've shared with you that has given you food for thought, and that maybe you'll try something a little bit different, and maybe start to reflect on some of the things that you've been telling yourself that maybe just aren't working anymore. And if you want to give yourself a really cool Christmas gift, or if you want to give someone some ideas as to what they could buy you, most definitely. And again, for those of you that are watching, here's the book. Oops, I can't get the glare off there. Okay. And then for those of you that are just listening, it is 17 Lies That Are Holding You Back and the Truth That Will Set You Free. Steve Chandler, who has also written 100 Ways to Motivate Yourself. So, where do you find this? Well, of course, if you're hearing it, you've obviously found it. But it's I say we because my dog Sam is in here with me today, helping out, doing absolutely nothing. But you can find me on YouTube, iHeart, Spotify, and Apple. So there you go. All right. So reach out, Gail at blindspotscoaching.ca, or just go to my website, blindspotscoaching.ca. And I can't wait to see you again soon. And I'm really looking forward to any comments you bring forth. So have a really, really great day if you're listening to the drop version of this at 7 a.m. in the morning. And we'll see you next week on Blind Spots. Take care.